Alright, welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, we are looking at a grade 12 question. We are looking at interpenetration and development topic, okay? Now, since now that I know interpenetration and development falls under first angle orthographic projection, before I can start answering the question, I want to understand how am I going to place my views, okay? Using my hashtag method. So looking at our question, we are given the incomplete front view and a top view of a regular square prism that has been shaped to fit around a regular hexagonal prism. The axes of both prisms lie in a common vertical plane, okay? And then we are given the auxiliary view of a square prism, the starting position of point O on the drawing sheet, okay? And then you are instructed to draw to scale 1:1 the following views: the given top view, the left view, the incomplete front view, clearly showing the curve of interpenetration, and you also need to develop the surfaces of the square prism, okay? So first thing first that we need to do, we'll need to know where will we place our left view, meaning our left will be on the right, which is somewhere here, okay? So now, looking at our question, this is our top view and this is our front view. Our left will be on this side, okay? And then looking at our top view, our hexagonal is standing at an angle of 15 degrees, which is here. So first thing first, planning is very important, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know how to plan, you never know where to start, okay? Hence I always emphasize that planning is very important. So now the thing that we can do, since I don't have my protractor with me, I will show you how we get a 15-degree angle using our set squares, okay? You don't have a set square, you don't worry, you only need to plan, okay? So now I have my 45 angle and also my 30/60 angle set square, okay? So what I'm gonna show you now is that if you can come here on your given views and simply put your set square like this, can you see that this line here is at an angle of 15? Also this one here that goes through our center, okay, that is at an angle of 15. The same position that we put our set square, we can now come to our starting position and then place our set square like this. This is angle of 15, okay? And then you are given a side length of a hexagonal pyramid, okay? So what you need to do is you have to set your compass to radius 34. Let me quickly set my compass. This is my ruler. Radius 34, meaning if it's 35, 34 will be here. And then I can stand on my center line, which is my starting position O, and then I can create my circle, okay? If I have created my circle now, what's left of me is to stand on this point, scribe an arc on the circumference, also scribe an arc on the circumference. Again, on this point, scribe an arc on the circumference, also scribe an arc on this circumference. And then what I can do now is that I can confidently sew with a solid line, join all these points, okay? That's how you plan your drawing before you can even start. And every time when you are dealing with solids, I would like to advise you that label all your points, okay? Starting from here, we are labeling clockwise, meaning we are having A here. Here will be B. We'll have C. You will have D. You will have E. The last point is F. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So now what we need to do is we will need to construct all your points vertically upwards. Construct all your points vertically upwards so that we can get our front view, because here we are doing our top view of the hexagonal prism. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, parallel to our center line we can create our XY line. It should be any distance away from our top view, any distance that you want. Okay, then they give you a height of a hexagonal prism from XY line to the top. It will be 70. Okay, so coming with your measurement ruler, you come here and then measurement of 70. Okay, then also again parallel to XY line. That's how you construct. And then now, since we have labeled our top view, we will also need to label our front view. Okay, now this is A, it will be A, and this side will be A1. Okay, here it will be B, and the bottom it will be B1. The outer one, this is C, this is C1. Then D, D1. Okay, E1 at the top is E, and then you have F, F1. Okay, because we are viewing our drawing coming from this side, this 1, 2, 3, 4 points will be visible coming from this side, and these 2 points will be hidden details because they are at the back. So I will firstly start with those hidden ones. Okay, and then also line A, A1 will be hidden detail. Okay, and then in order for me to get my square prism, I am shown that from my XY line to the center of my square prism, this is the center of my square prism here. So from my XY line to the center is 35 millimeters. So what I can do is that from here, let's measure here on our center. From here to here, at the center of the square prism, it will be 35. Okay, and then on that 35, I construct my line that is parallel to my XY. Simply construct my line that is parallel to XY, you see. And then I know somewhere here, that's where I will have my center of the square prism. Okay, and now that I've been given a side length of 42, I've been given a side length of 42 in my square prism, and my square prism is at an angle of 45. What I will need to do is that somewhere here, I will just need to take my compass, set my compass to 21. Or let me just use my set squares. Okay, now that I have this point here, I can use my set square of 45. I can use my 45 set square, place it like this. Okay, then I know again also the top it will be 45. It will be like this. So what I will need to do now is to measure my 42 on this line, which is 42 will be here. Okay, and again on this one, 42 will end here. And we can see that I made half of this. Okay, which is I have this point here, this point, and this point. There is no need for me to complete this auxiliary view because this side length and this side length is the same as this side length. Okay, so now what I will need to do is I will need to construct from this point that I got there. I will need to construct and then also the top. This is how I get my distance. And then here on my top view, I'm showing that from the center to the outer base of the square prism, from here to here it will be 50. So I will take my measuring ruler, measure 50 from the center to the outer part, and then as I get my point perpendicular to my XY, I will need to construct my line like this. So how do I get the distance from here to here? Because we are given the true length of 42, this is the true length. No, this is the true length. Okay, because all the sides are equal. Yeah, standing here we will have our point, also this side we will have our point. Okay, so what we will need to do is we will need to label our square prism. Let's label here at our given. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Okay, meaning here at the top we will have 1, we will have 2, 3 at the bottom, and again 4. Okay, and then if we are looking from the top here, we will see 1 and 3 on the same line, which is looking from here, and then 1 will have 2 here, 3, and we will have 4 on the other side. Okay, and then that's when I can complete my top view now. This is when I can complete my top view. And then now, since I am done with my given top view, I will need to construct my left view. Okay, any distance away from your front view and top view, create your own XY line. X, Y, X, Y. Okay, and then what you will need to do now is, looking from this side, this line is going to be visible, also E, D, and C. So we need to complete our hexagonal prism. It's going to be visible, and then also line D is going to be visible. Okay, and then because our square prism is somehow interpenetrating between D and E, this is also going to be visible, but I will end somewhere here so that I do not use my rubber when I'm interpenetrating my square somewhere there, and also here on line F. Okay, until here. Then I can quickly finish up my hexagonal prism. Okay, and then also here on my square prism, I can use my solid lines until here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now also here, because from one we are C until here, here. Okay, so now we will need to do our left view. Remember, always when we are dealing with orthographic projection, this is first angle, we always need 45 angle to align our views accurately. Okay, so now you start with the hexagonal prism, starting with A. This will be a A, this will be a B, this will be a F, C here, have E, and we have our D. Okay, and then as soon as they touches your 45 angle, you construct them back here in your left view. Also the center line here. Second last, and this is the last one. Okay, and remember, when we construct our hexagonal prism, we labeled here on top view, meaning we also need to label here on our left view. And then looking from this side, what we will see our square prism, and then you also see our hexagonal prism. Then on our hexagonal prism, line A, line F, line E, line D will be visible, and B and C will be hidden detail. Okay, so starting with B, making hidden detail lines. Okay, then also C, hidden detail lines. Okay, and I know this is C1, this is C, this is B, this is B1. Okay, here is A, this is A1, and then here is D1, and then on this one we have E1, we have E, and then we have F and F1, and then the outer edges I can confidently so use my solid line on the outer edges. Okay, then I can finish up my hexagonal prism. Now I need to feature my square prism, so I will need to take all these lines to my 45 angle here, and then this one also, because this one 1 and 3 is on the same line with my center line. Okay, so I will need to construct them back vertically to my left view. This is my left view, and then here is my 4. Okay, now looking here, this is line 4, and then also this is line 4. This will be my first point. Here this is my line 1 and 3. I'm looking for line 3 here, and then again my line 1 is here. Okay, and then the last one is 2. 2 is on this line. Okay, now I can join all these points together confidently, so using my solid lines. Okay, and then because F and E are going to be solid, meaning F is going to be solid from here to here. Okay, and then also E is going to be solid from here to here. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, we also need to label 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, these ones are solid, they are at the back. Okay, now our square prism is interpenetrating at our hexagonal prism like this. So what we will need to do, we will need to complete our front view. This is our front view. We need to complete our front view following all the information that we have now, because we now know 2 is interpenetrating until here, 1 and 3 are interpenetrating until here, 4 is interpenetrating until here. Okay, but because they have a wraparound of this thing of hexagonal prism, which is from 4 you can't go straight to 1 and 3, you have a wraparound of F. And then from 3 you can't go straight to 2, even though it shows that you are going straight here on our left view, but you don't go straight. You can see here from your top that you are going to E first, then you are going to 2. Okay, so what we will need to do, we will need to determine that our 1 on our top view, until where is it interpenetrating. 1 is interpenetrating until here. Okay, this is 1 and 3, meaning 1 and 3 are interpenetrating on this line until here, and also 3 until here. Okay, and then we check our 2. Where's our 2? 2 is interpenetrating until here. Because we are looking from this side, 2 is going to interpenetrate until this point here. Okay, and then it's going to be a visible edge because this is the front view, and then this is our top view. Okay, and then we are at 2 now. Okay, this is from 1 to 2. Okay, now we want to know from 1 how do you come to 2, and then from 2 how do you go back to 3, from 3 how do you go back to 4. Where's our 4? Our 4 is interpenetrating until here, our line 4, and then this is 4. We now know this is 4, this is 2. Okay, so now we are going to use our left view. Okay, now using our left view, we know that even though it shows that from 1 to 2 we are moving straight, I am going to use my color mark so that you understand. From 1 to 2 we don't just go straight. Before we reach to 2 we are coming across line E1, which is we are coming across line E1 here. Okay, so projecting that back to our front view here, looking for line E1. Where's our line E1? Here's our line E1. Okay, then before we come to 2 you have to come across line E1 here. From here we are coming here, so confidently so with our solid line. Okay, then from here we can come to 2 now. Okay, so from there we can only come to our point 2. Then from point 2 we want to go to point 3. Okay, and then before we reach point 3 we come across line E1 once again. So we will need to also construct this wrap around here to our front view, and then look for line E1 on our front view, which is E1 is here. Okay, then you know now from 2 we don't just go to 3, we first go to E1 and then you can now go to 3, which is interpenetrating here. Okay, and then now since we are at point 3, we wanna go to our point 4. Okay, and then from here we see that before we reach point 4, we go around line F1. Okay, F1. So we also need to project this one back to our front view and look for line F1. Here's our line F1, meaning from 3 we want to go to 4, but we first need to go through F and F1. Okay, so because from here going to F, it's at the back, we are going to use hidden details. Okay, because remember, we are looking from our front. Okay, hidden detail. Okay, and then from this one, that's when we can now go to 4. Where's our 4? Here, which is interpenetrating until here. Okay, so we will need to use our hidden detail also. Okay, then from our 4, we see that we need to use this method from coming here to here. We come around line F1 once again. Okay, which is we need to take this back and see where do we have our line F1 on our front view. We have our line point here on F1 before we reach to point 1. So we use our hidden details once again from 4 to this point, which is here, and then from here we will need to come on our point 1, which is here, also using hidden details. Okay, so now because this one here is at the back of our square prism, we need to use hidden detail also here. Hidden details. Okay, so now since we are done with completing our front view, okay, let's finish with this line. This is here until here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so now what we need to do, we will need to do our develop the surface of the square prism. Okay, so what we need to do is we can do your surface here. Okay, so when developing the surface, you need to work with true length only. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to determine where you get your true length. Okay, looking at our square prism end, we need to develop that surface. The true length that we are going to get, we are going to get them on our left and also on our front. Okay, so now because you need to develop the surface of the square prism, okay, because here they mentioned only the square prism, you will not need to develop the surface of our hexagonal prism. So what we will need to do, we will make one our seam, meaning if we are making one our seam, we are starting at 1 and we end at 1. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what do I mean when I am talking about a seam? Okay, think of this paper as in like you need to combine it and make it one thing. Okay, you need to make one thing like this. Okay, where it meets here, this will be a seam, meaning if we have point 1 on this line, we will also have point 1 here. Okay, it meeting like this is your seam. Okay, so when we label, we start with 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and again 1, because 1 is going to combine again with 1. Okay, and then what you will need to do is that you will need to construct your lines horizontally, so, and again here also need to construct your line, also at 3 construct your line horizontally, 2 again, and then lastly here at 1. Okay, so from now what we need to do is that we need to take our true length of how our square prism is interpenetrating from here until our hexagonal prism, which is on line 1. You can see that 1 is interpenetrating from here until here, so we will need that measurement from here. Okay, so from here until here, this distance we are going to feature it on line 1. Okay, we have 1 here and then also this side. Okay, and then we have 2 is interpenetrating from here until here. Okay, so we will need this measurement from here, which is the true length. Okay, and then we feature it on line 2. Okay, and then 3 is interpenetrating until here, which is the same measurement as line 1. This is 3. Okay, and then 4 is interpenetrating until here. Okay, so on this line take the measurement until where is interpenetrating, and then come on line 4, and then okay, and then before we join all these points, let's come back again here, which is here at the base. We come back here. From 1 to 2 we have a curve here, which is E, so we also need to include it here on our surface. Okay, so we need to take the measurement from 1 to E, which is from here to 1 there. Okay, and then from 1 approaching 2 we have this measurement until here. Okay, and then from here on this line we did the construction. We'll have this point here, standing here on our base, coming to this point. We will need to construct our line also parallel to these ones. We will need to construct our line and then take this distance until here and then feature it here. Okay, and again from 2 approaching 3 we have again a point there, which is this distance from 2. Okay, this is 2 and then 2 until here. Okay, and then you make a parallel line to line 2, and then here on this construction, we will need to take a measurement from our base, which is here, until this point here. Okay, then we feature it on this line. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, then from here, this point can now come to 3. Okay, then from 3 approaching 4, okay, 3 approaching 4 we come across this point first, which is this distance. So here on our surface we will need to take this distance from 3, which is here, until where we have a turnaround, which is from 3 approaching 4. We have a turnaround here, and then we construct a parallel line to 3, and then you will need to take a measurement from this construction line, exactly where it's interpenetrating on this line, which is from here to this point. Okay, standing here at our base until this point, and then you come here and this line we created, you create your point. Okay, and then from this point we can now move to 4, which is you can now move from here to here. Okay, so now we need to say from here we are going to 4, which is from here we are coming to 4. We will come here straight, and then from 4 we come here. Before we go to 1, we move from 4 to this point here. Okay, which is from 4 to this point. It will be this point from 4 until here. Okay, so what you will need to do is constructing back from your left view to your front view. We will need to take first this measurement here on our draw length here, and take this measurement on our base here from 4 approaching 1. Okay, we have a turnaround there, and then a parallel line to 4 and 1 like this, and then standing here at our base we will need the measurement from here to here. Okay, here's our measurement from here to here. Okay, then on this one we created, we have our point here, and then once we have all our points, we can now develop our surface confidently, so using our solid lines. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, using our solid lines confidently, so from here we are moving until here, then here we are moving until here, and then this is our seam, and then also here is our seam. Okay, then we can use our base. Okay, and then because we have our edges visible from 1 until here, we also need to make this 2 until this point visible, which is 2 until here is visible, and then we also need to make 3 until here to be visible, which is 3 until here is visible, and then also 4 from here we will need to make it visible. Okay, then for today, that's the end of our video, ladies and gentlemen. Please, if you found this video very helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can stay along every time when I drop. Okay, thank you for your time once again.